Hi guys, welcome back to the show. Today I am delighted to be joined by the owner and founder of Trail Goddess, Leigh-Ann. How are we?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I know, sorry about the kind of shock of seeing me and you were like, where's your hair?
I know, I thought it was a what's it called? Catfished.
Oh, but
Don't cut that out,
sorry. What did life look like for you then before obviously starting Trail Goddess?
So life before Trail Goddess was very much working full time. I was in the corporate world for 20 plus years. I actually worked in marketing communications before, so I suppose quite a successful career, you might say. I'd worked my way up to head of marketing for quite a big engineering firm, but I'd spent most of my career in like engineering, facilities management, and I actually worked for one of Glasgow's best known entrepreneurs for quite a while as well, rebranding his business. So very much a lot of time spent in the corporate space, but I've been running for 16 years, it's always been a huge passion of mine. More trail running in the last 6 to 7 years, but it has always been a huge part of my life. So,
and for people that don't know Trail Goddess, give us a kind of, obviously we're going to get into it in deeper later, but tell us quickly what Trail Goddess is.
So Trail Goddess is the UK's first trail running brand that's exclusively for women. So it's basically a range of vibrant, functional, high performance wear for females to go out and enjoy time on the trails. Yeah,
and can you walk us through your background? Obviously you'd said marketing.
Yeah.
How did you get into that then in terms of that career?
So I went to university, like a lot of people do. I always kind of had a dream of working in PR and marketing, and I went to university in Glasgow and then started out working for accountancy firms actually, and then took a break to have my first daughter in 2010, and when I came back I kind of fell into engineering companies, kind of quite big blue chip engineering construction firms. So I spent like the latter part of my career just basically working for them in marketing communications, so helping others to build their brands basically. Yeah. And I talked a bit about working with one of Glasgow's best known entrepreneurs and helping them to rebrand their business to become one of the biggest facilities management companies in the world. So always had that background of building brands.
And in terms of the running aspect, you said you ran for 16 years.
Yeah.
Is that right? So how did you get into running? Is it just a wee hobby? How a lot of people get into running nowadays, and obviously with the half marathon coming up this week, how did you get into it?
So I suppose like a lot of people, I get into running to lose weight. It was actually just before I'd had my first daughter. It seems like a long time ago now, to be honest, and it really is. Just before I had her, and back then I suppose like I would use any excuse just to kind of chuck it. So I went through 2 pregnancies at that stage, kind of having a child and then going back to running, and it is quite difficult, after you've had a baby. Sometimes you put on a bit of weight, and I did do that, but I always seemed to kind of get back into it, and I would go to my local Jog Scotland group. So I joined that with a friend, and I spent 10 years at Jog Scotland, just like kind of working to building up my running. Ran my first 5k, ran my first 10k, first half marathon, and you'd be surprised at how quickly that escalates. So you're saying you're going to run your first half marathon, and then it will progress from that.
So you carried away, don't you? You're like, I can do a 5, I can do a 10. Actually, I feel like you almost like build that confidence in yourself, don't you? And I can imagine that's where you...
Absolutely, yeah. It's just about building confidence, and as I say, it escalates really quickly. A lot of people will agree with me on that. I'm sure if they run, they'll understand. Before you know it, you're signing up to marathons and then ultra marathons. So. Yeah. And
then starting your own brand,
exactly.
as not a lot of people do. And then obviously family life, balancing that marketing career, also running, and the family life. How did those different parts of your life shape who you are now?
It was really difficult. I mean, balancing a career and, back then I had 2 children. It was really difficult, and running was kind of like an escape for me. It was a way for me to kind of feel free. It was a way for me to have like valuable time to myself, away from being a mum and a career woman and all the things all the demands, I suppose, that are placed on not just women, also men as well, but from my perspective as a woman, the demands that were placed on me. So it always gave me like a bit of an outlet and time to just be myself, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What was your go-to running gear then when you were climbing through the ranks, if you like? What was it? Because obviously you started your own one, but before that, what was the kind of go-to brand for you?
I'd say like I wore a lot of Nike, a lot of New Balance, like all the brands that you would kind of, I suppose, see and hear of in the running industry, you know, activewear brands, Adidas. Used to buy a lot of cheap stuff as well, like, you know, not wanting to spend a lot of money on your kit, thinking, well, I'm just going to go and, you know, wear it outdoors and sweat in it or whatever, you know, I'm going to get it dirty, and not really like investing in like pieces that were going to last, you know, because it was really just kind of whatever fitted, I guess. There wasn't really a lot of choice, a lot of black, a lot of, you know, kind of dull colours, I guess, muted tones out there. So it wasn't until the birth of my son a bit later on that I was struggling to get back into running. So I was a bit older at that point, a bit further on in my life, and I was kind of not feeling really great about myself, if I'm being honest. I'd put on a little bit of weight in pregnancy, and I was going like to all the usual brands that I would buy, and nothing fitted, nothing made me feel good. And I started thinking about it, and, you know, about my runs, struggling and, you know, feeling like things were tight and not feeling very good on myself, and thinking, you know, I could do something about this. Like, could I do something about it? And I started kind of floating the idea around some of my running friends, and it was actually, I was out a run with my coach one day, and she said something to me. She said, you know, like when I go for a run, she's like, I do my hair, I do my makeup, I put on something that makes me feel good. She said, and it's almost like you're going out for the night, or you're going out to like an event. She's like, you make an effort, and that really stuck with me. So obviously I had been thinking about starting up my own brand and, you know, my own kit for running. And when she said that, it just really struck a chord with me, and I thought, other women are feeling the exact same way that I do, that, you know, kit's unisex, it's not made with women in mind, you know, the tones are muted, it's a lot of like black, dull colours. You know, I'm going to do something about this.
And that's, you know, just that experience of starting your own brand, are those the cogs starting to turn and really believing in yourself that you can do it? Because I imagine a lot of people have the idea to, you know, start a brand, start a business, launch it, but to actually go and do it takes another, you know, another mindset. You know, how did it go from that frustration of things that weren't fitting, you know, colours being dull, to then starting to create the products? How did you go from that?
I think it kind of goes back a wee bit to my childhood as well. I always had like a bit of like entrepreneurial spark, I don't know if you would call it, in me. Like I used to do little side hustles a lot when I was younger. Like I had a roll business, and that evolved into like delivering breakfast to people's doors on a Sunday morning and things like that, and I would hand out my little flyers, and, you know, there was always that bit of entrepreneurial spirit in me. And having worked for Lord Willie Hockey for 4.5 years, that really inspired me a lot as well during that time, and I learned a lot about the work that goes into being a founder and an entrepreneur. So I think I took like all those like personality traits that I've got and the characteristics that I've got, along with what I'd learned from working in the private sector, into, you know, starting up my own brand. But e-commerce is a completely different world to what I was used to. Obviously, having the marketing background and things like that, I knew about research, I knew about understanding your customer, who your audience was, about testing, you know, brands, and thinking through, you know, what's the rationale behind your brand, what's the message that you want to speak to your customers about. And to be honest with you, like I spent a lot of time on that behind the scenes before I actually launched the brand. So probably the later part of 2023 was just spent, you know, researching products and thinking about, you know, the brand. And I love 80s American, so that's just like a huge part of my personality. So the vibrant colours and all that, they really reflect like who I am as a person, and that bit of glam as well. Like I like to feel nice, and I like to feel good and try and take care of my appearance, and I wanted that to reflect in the kit as well, but also high performance wear as well, that my customers that were buying it would trust in, because, you know, with trail running you need mandatory kit. It's actually about safety as well, so it has to perform well. So putting all those things in together, like to build a brand that I was proud of and that customers would want to wear.
Yeah, no, I obviously had a look through your page and your products, and you really get that kind of source of your real imprint on it. You know, you can see a lot of brands, and they've obviously become so big that you don't see the imprint anymore, but you can tell that there's a real personal touch to what you're doing. It's actually really nice for you to hear you speaking about it in terms of that 80s theme that you talk about, in terms of the colours, and really trying to make it. But in terms of balance on that, you know, it must be, you know, really difficult. What was the scariest part for you of that early journey of, you know, wanting to start the brand, wanting to, you know, really stand out from the rest?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I continued building the brand alongside working full time for quite a while. So I was, you know, doing all my research. I came up with, you know, the name and the logo, and was testing all that behind the scenes while I was working full-time job as head of marketing communications, you know, quite a demanding role. And it wasn't actually till like a really challenging time in my personal life. So I left quite a really bad relationship. And yeah, I think it was just after that, it was a bit of a turning point for me, and my life had completely changed. I was a single mum with 3 children to look after, and couldn't balance the full-time job and the career and all the stuff that brought with it, alongside looking after my 3 kids. So I decided to quit my job. So, you know, I had built up a really successful career, and I put all my savings and everything I had into launching the brand. And I think it was August last year, the end of August last year, that I went full-time. So kind of took a big risk and took a big leap, but you know, that helps me balance my family time with the kids, and juggling all that as a single parent by myself, but also throwing myself into something that truly means something to me. So the Find Your Freedom, the mission behind the brand, is really personal to me. So it's about women who might feel that there's a lot of demands being placed on them in their lives, or they might feel that, you know, they're in a controlling situation that they can't get out of. And Find Your Freedom is a mission that I hope will inspire and encourage other women to go out and find time to themselves, find that freedom through a love of trail running. So that's what it did for me during that really difficult time. And yeah, I think it's really important for me to keep driving home that mission of, it's okay to have time to yourself. It's okay to, you know, go out and pursue the things you love and achieve goals that you never ever thought possible, because I think a lot of women, they don't believe in themselves. You know, they don't believe that they can go and run an ultra marathon or a marathon or even a 10k or a 5k. But I feel that if I'm out there doing it myself, and I demonstrate or, you know, show other women that it's possible, and I give them the kit that they need to make them feel great about themselves while they're out doing it, then, you know, for me, that's a job done.
Yeah, you're really walking the walk, aren't you? You know, a lot of people talk it, but not a lot of people walk it. And a huge admiration and respect for yourself, you know, being so honest in terms of what you went through, but you're also then showing other women that it is possible. You know, it is possible to go and do your dreams, you know, go and live how you want to live. You want to start a brand. If you want to go and run a marathon, you can do whatever you want to do. And obviously you said being a mum as well, you know, that's a whole job as well. You know, you talk about marketing, starting a business and being a mum. The mum is being a job. You know, I've had the pleasure of having a couple of mums on now, and it's, you know, it's hard. How did being both a runner and a mum shape your vision for Trail Goddess?
I think it's just going back to that, you know, mission about, you know, you can go out and have time to yourself through, you know, something that you love. You can find, you know, it might not need to be trail running, but it's just prioritising that time to yourself. Like, as a busy mum, it is difficult sometimes, but I've always believed that if you want something badly enough, you'll make it happen. You know, you will do whatever it takes to meet, you know, that goal, or to reach that goal, or to you know, have that achievement in your life. And I want to encourage and inspire other women to go out and find that for themselves, you know, and, you know, feel good about what they've achieved, because we are people at the end of the day. Like, just because we're mums and, you know, we have children doesn't mean that we don't have our own goals and aspirations. So it is okay, and it's not selfish to go out and achieve things for yourself in life.
Why should they be pushed to the side just because you get stuff going on? It's almost trying to find the balance to be able to do them all. Yeah, it's a tough thing, isn't it? You know, striking that balance wherever you are in life. You know, do you feel kind of motherhood gave you a different perspective in terms of that, you know, resilience, you know, designing of the products? We spoke about the 80s theme, or the community you wanted to build. Do you feel like Mother gave you that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, firstly, I'm a mum of 2 girls. I've got a little boy as well, and you know, I've always maintained that I want to show my girls that if you're not happy, you can make a change. Like, you don't have to be stuck in that situation, whatever that may be. You can make that change, and you know, you can find happiness. And also, if you are passionate about something or you want to achieve something, then you can go out and do it. You know, you can go out and achieve anything you want, whatever those dreams are. You can make it happen. So that's the kind of 2 lessons, and I say the same for my son as well. It's slightly different because obviously I'm talking about 2 girls that are, you know, potentially looking up to me, and I know my son will too. He's very young still, he's only 3, but yeah, they're a bit older and they are more perceptive and they see what goes on in my life now, and I want to set a really good example for them. But also in terms of community, I mean, that is hugely important to me as well. I mean, I grew up not being the most popular girl at school. You know, I was never picked for, you know, being in the netball team, and, you know, I was never the girl that everyone wanted to hang around. And for me, I always thought, it was actually something that my friend said to me. She's like, you know, why don't you just create your own running club? She's like, why do you bother about going to, you know, other running clubs and feeling like you don't fit in or feeling like you don't belong? She's like, when you could create your own. And that is a big part of, you know, the whole ethos behind Trail Goddess is women lifting each other up and empowering each other to go out and achieve these incredible goals. I've got some lovely women in my community that are now my friends, and we all really support each other. We're with each other at our races, we crew each other for ultras, and I do quite regular Run With Us events, so it is basically opening up a safe space for women to come. It's women only, so there's no men allowed, unfortunately, but they can come along and try trail running. So they might have never tried it before, or they might just be new to trail running, and it's a safe space for them to meet up with other women, you know, enjoy, you know, trying out trail running for themselves in a controlled environment. And I really hope that that will encourage more women into the sport, because with trail running, it takes a lot of confidence, building confidence, and I've had to do that myself over the years. Going up in the hills by yourself is scary. Yep. You know, I've come down a few times from long trail runs, training runs, because I've not felt comfortable for one reason or another. So yeah, I just want to help instill that confidence in women by giving them that space to come and try it out for themselves.
It really feels like you're on that path to doing so. I'm very much living that way in terms of, you know, influence women and almost pulling people along with you for the ride.
Yeah,
it must be a nice feeling to have people coming along with you and starting to get more recognised, people starting to see, and obviously I really appreciate obviously bringing some of the kit to show us off here, and also wearing the t-shirt as
part of the new range.
Always representing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously Trail Goddess, you know, is recently featured in women's running. You know, it's up for Running Apparel Brand of the Year. I've voted.
Thank you.
What's that recognition meant to you?
Oh, it means everything. I mean, recognition from an awards perspective is one thing, but you know, hearing from my community and the women that follow along on the journey. I've got one girl who has just ran her second trail marathon. She did Loch Ness at the weekend, and she ran her first marathon after coming along to the Run With Us events. And you know, we now stay in touch, and I would say, you know, she's one of my friends. And just hearing these inspiring stories from other women, and they're out wearing my kit and they're sending me photos. To me, that means a lot more than any awards or, you know, recognition. However, from a professional point of view, and, you know, like I test all the kit myself. Like I'm out doing back-to-back weekends in the hills and the mountains and the most horrendous weather conditions, you know, testing the jacket, testing the shorts, testing the upcoming hydration pack that is going to be launching really soon. So, you know, I need to make sure if it's good enough for me, then hopefully it will be good enough for those women who are going out and achieving their goals, whether it be a first, you know, trail marathon or their first ultra, and giving them the kit that they need to do it.
Yeah, and as we spoke before, you know, that balance is very important, you know, but also making sure that stuff, because I know obviously a lot of brands, I imagine, will, you know, pay hundreds of people and thousands of people to test the gear, then get it back, get feedback, then improve it. Sometimes that's not possible, especially when you're starting out.
No.
You can imagine it's not just as easy as giving hundreds of gear out and going to let me know how that goes, and then going back, because that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
How do you balance the performance needs of trail and ultra gear with making it vibrant and also fun?
It is difficult when you're working with suppliers, manufacturers, when you're such a small brand. I spent months, so when I first launched Trail Goddess, I started working on the jacket design in the background. I booked the National Running Show, so I had no products to sell. I had booked it a year in advance, and I set myself that goal of having the jacket, even if it was a prototype, to take to the running show and to maybe let people try it on and give me their feedback. So I thought, I was going to gather feedback and take it from there. Little did I know that when I got to October that year, I was going to have designed the jacket, manufactured it, and sold out 3 times, and we'd be launching another colour at the running show. So you can imagine how things had snowballed. But during that time, it was really difficult to get a manufacturer to work with me because I was such a small brand and I was very set in what I wanted. I wanted the vibrant colours, but also matching that with the high performance. So it had to be 20,000 waterproof rating, it had to be breathable, it had to be a 2.5 layer fabric. So, I had all these requirements in terms of the performance as well, and I was very much, it has to be that, has to have the tape seams because it's got to be part of a mandatory kit, it's got to pass kit check. So it was really tough, and it took me months to find a manufacturer to work with me, but once I found that manufacturer, we've developed a really great working relationship and they've been really supportive. I have various manufacturers now, but it is tough, and it's been a huge learning curve for me. I've learned so much. I'm lucky enough to work with another designer who, she's actually an ultra runner, trail runner as well, clearly a female, and she's amazing. She brings everything to life. I ask her for, lots of different things.
Bounce off each other.
Yeah, and we have a similar outlook. We both love vibrant colours, we both love the 80s glam, and so she helps me bring all that to life.
It's important to stand out, isn't it? I think that's the main thing, and you don't just want to be another brand that's they do running gear. It's you right away, it's instantly recognisable, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's what you try to go for. You try to stand out from the crowd. It's trying to be different, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There seems to be a very much perception nowadays in modern day world that standing out's a bad thing. I just don't feel, why is it a bad thing? I know. I think people are scared, to break away from norms. If you look at, so for example, I ran the Highland Fling last weekend, 53-mile ultramarathon. It's one of the most iconic routes, obviously the West Highland Way, and the race itself is so well known. And I seen some photos after the race, and we were all standing in a big crowd at Mulgai train station, and not Mulgai train station, sorry, Mulgai town centre. And it was we stood out like a sore thumb. So it was this group of Trail Goddess women with all the hats on and the vibrant gear. And I was proud, I was we are changing the way. I don't see this as being, a brand. I see it as being more like a kind of movement where we're changing the way that trail running kit is made for women. I mean, there's no other brand in the UK that, to my best of my knowledge, like Trail Goddess, and that was the intention, was to do something a little bit different and to change the norms around trail running kit. Because you'll see black, you'll see muted tones, you'll see unisex gear that's really made for men and just size down for women. So I'm just trying to change that and make a difference, I think. Quite rightly so. I actually meant to ask you, what was the talk to us through the name, Trail Goddess? I don't think I actually asked you.
Yeah.
Where did the name come from?
So again, obviously with that love for 80s American, when you look at the logo, you'll see the kind of Knight Rider type sunrise in the background. And the gold colour is actually, it's my blonde hair, so it's actually it is very reflective of my personality, but the goddess part was actually about how you feel. So it was that female empowerment and feeling great about yourself, which is obviously how the kit is meant to make you feel. So feeling like a goddess, it sounds out there, but if I can help anyone to feel as good as that when they're out you know, enjoying their run or enjoying that time to themselves. And I think if you know, look good, you feel good, and you're more likely to enjoy your run, and you're therefore more likely to achieve your goals, aren't you?
Yeah,
so
why shouldn't someone feel like $1 million?
Exactly.
It's like, you know, as we spoke about there, in terms of standing out from the crowd, you know, it's like, I just, again, people breaking away from societal norms. Why shouldn't somebody be allowed to stand out? Why shouldn't a female be allowed to be a goddess or stand out? You know, they're not doing any harm by being themselves and standing out. There's, you know,
it's like bringing the glam to trail running. You know, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Exactly. And in terms of building a community, you know, how important is that in terms of around the brand? You know, how important is building a community around the brand compared to just selling, you know, products?
It's really important. It's everything really, isn't it, about the community of women, about supporting each other, about encouraging other women and achieving, you know, the things they never thought possible, whether it is that 5K or it's their first trail run, or, you know, they want to run an ultra. A lot of women, you know, never think that would be possible. I never thought it was possible. I never thought I would be, you know, this far down the line running ultras, and thinking that was normal. You know, it becomes the norm for you. And you know, someone once said to me, it was actually my coach who said to me, you know, you become what you surround yourself with. And I think that's a big part of community. If women are able to be a part of a community where they're inspired, they're uplifted, they feel empowered, they're more likely to go out and achieve these goals, whatever they may be. So yeah, I'm just giving them the space to be able to do it, and the kit that they need to do it as well.
Yeah, you're giving them the tools. It's like you're assisting them in building themselves up, and you know, it's something I'm really admirable of, and I love that's what I loved about, you know, and obviously we'd messaged and stuff about you kind of coming on and speaking about it, is the whole empowerment thing as well. You know, being able to give females the confidence, you know, the gear to really stand out and feel their best possible way going into a big long marathon, a big long trail run. You know, it must really, as you said, there's a professional aspect to it, but it must make you feel good inside. Yeah,
it does. I think, like as I said earlier about, you know, not being the most popular girl at school, and, you know, struggling with friendships and, you know, relationships and with other women, and I've now got that ability to try and shape, you know, my own community, and in a community where everyone's accepted. You know, it's inclusive of women from all walks of life and all backgrounds, and, you know, it doesn't matter what you've been through, you know, in your life, you can still go out and you can feel free from all of that. You know, running does bring that to a lot of people, and I hope I can bring that to other women, because it's certainly done so much for me personally. It's helped me through like some of the most challenging times in my life, and, you know, there's been a few of those. So I'm hoping that I can provide that community to other women, and they can feel free too.
Yeah, no, in terms of you being a female runner, as you spoke about there, designing, you know, running gear for females, and we spoke about the other training kit being quite unisex, but also kind of more being tailored towards males.
Yeah.
Do you think the industry has been too male-centric until now?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, trail running in general, I think around 20 to 25% of people at the start line are women. So that's quite a low number for women participating in trail running. So if I can help to increase that number and encourage more women into trail running, then, you know, that is, for me, a goal in itself. As I say, it's mainly been, you know, kind of black, muted tones. You know, gear tends to be made for men, and then, you know, bigger brands will kind of, they call it shrink it and pink it, and it's basically just like a smaller size or graded down for women. But my kit's obviously designed by myself. It's designed by another female trail and ultra runner. So all the features, you know, that we come up with for, like, for example, the jacket, you know, there's a bigger hood because women have ponytails and they need room for their hair, so that the peak of the hood isn't sitting really far back in their head and there's absolutely no use, to, you know, things like elastic around the bottom of the jacket so that it fits over your hips. You know, it's like these kind of thoughtful features that women appreciate, that someone's actually put the time into, you know, considering. things like my hydration pack. A lot of women came to me before and said, would you make a hydration pack for us? You know, I've got, not me personally, but I've got bigger boobs, they would say, and you know, I feel like hydration packs don't accommodate a female shape, so could you make one that is a bit more like flexible and versatile? So I put a thin wire into mine so that it moulds to the shape of a woman. So it's things like that that I've spent time working on with the designer so that women feel good when they're wearing the kit.
It's a little small intricate details,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. And women feel like it's been designed for them.
Yeah, no, 100%. You talk about you know, going from helping you massively, you know, as you're going through your challenges, and then obviously before starting the brand. Ultra trail running, obviously I spoke to a good friend of the show, Paul Manson, who you'll know, and he kind of talked to us through your experiences of trail running. So obviously, what's been the biggest one you've done so far?
So I've done a few ultras now. I think the biggest one, like the biggest challenge that I've done, had to be the GB Ultras one, the Pennine Barrier back in May. They all have different challenges, like they're all very different races, the ones that I've done. But for me, that was the most challenging because of the things, you know, that were thrown in my way during the race. So like a lot of problem solving. And that's what I love about trail running, is that it takes you away from everything that's going on in your day-to-day life, because there's a lot of problem solving involved in it. You're dealing with what's in front of you. You're having to make decisions about your nutrition, your body, your kit, like, you know, your pace. Like, you're thinking about a lot of different things, you know, the terrain that's in front of you, how you're going to navigate that. So you forget about everything else. You know, you're just focused on what's in front of you, and you get out for the day. Like,
yeah, it's great.
I mean, I think the Pennine Barrier took me just under 17 hours. So that was a mountain ultra.
Yeah.
It was like 10,000 feet elevation, 51 miles across the Yorkshire Three Peaks. So that was, for me, the biggest race, definitely.
I still don't think in my head that, because even when Paul was talking about how long he was running for, I still don't think in my head it's quite computing. Like, I'm just like, how's that even possible? I think obviously you'll be like, no, of course it is. In my head, I'm like, God, I run for 2 hours and I'm absolutely good. So I can't imagine how you feel running across mountains and mental terrain. Yeah,
you just do it.
Yeah.
You don't think about it. Like, when you're out there, you're not thinking about the time. You're not thinking, well, I'm not personally thinking about how long, you know, I've been out there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe about how long it's going to take me. Like, you know, it's getting dark. I've missed my breakfast, lunch and dinner. I'm living off of sandwiches at this point in time, and cereal bars and gels. You know, I wouldn't mind a meal at some point today. I do think a lot about that, you know, how long it's taken me, but you're out there for the day, you're letting go of all the stresses, and you're like strange, you know, at being a mum, being a business owner, and just being yourself, like, and the people you meet as well. Like, the trail running community is like no other. I don't know if Paul said that to you, but obviously I was a road runner for many years, and the community is just not the same. Although there's a lot of lovely people in the road running community, trail running is just a bit different, and it's a different breed as well of people. Like, when you hear people's stories and what they take into trail running, the things that they've been through. A lot of ultra runners, I was actually talking to someone about this earlier today, a lot of ultra runners, I'm not saying they're running away from something, but they tend to like put things that they've been through in their lives into, you know, these challenges and endurance running, and because it makes you more resilient. You know, it really does. Like, your mindset and your mental strength, you will see improve so much when you start trail running and perhaps getting into ultra.
It must build some amount of resilience. Do you feel like when you're out and about, you see things that kind of give you some ideas for?
Oh yeah. Well, when I'm out on my long training run, so sometimes like I can be out for like 5 hours on the trails and the hills, mountains, and then I'll have to go back out the next day and do like another 3.5 hours. So I spend long, you know, amounts of time running by myself. And that's where I get all the best ideas. But the only problem is when I'm running, I'm like, right, you know, I've forgotten about it by the time I get back to the car. So I've started kind of writing like messages to myself, because that's where I come up with all my ideas for Trail Goddess and where I want to take it, and, you know, features about the kit, sometimes I'm not happy with, I want to improve on, and I write it all down now, or I'll be listening to maybe a podcast that's relevant and I'll do like a little snippet, and I'll think that really resonates with me and my community, and I'll like take a note of it, because like for a long time I was getting back to the car and I've completely forgotten you know, the things that I wanted to.
What was that thing I was thinking about? Yeah. In terms of that, you know, you spoke about there building that community, you know, and making it as big as possible. What's next for you in terms of Trail Goddess? You know, obviously 2025 is kind of coming to a close, but as you said, the improvements never stop, you know, especially I think of it for like, you know, the podcast, you know, like where can we improve? There's always areas you can improve in life. There's always areas you can improve across the board. What's coming? New kit, collaborations, events. I know, obviously, maybe not want to reveal too much, but what can you tell us?
Well, I've got huge ambitions, definitely, for Trail Goddess. I'm quite an ambitious person, and you know, coming from the corporate world, I understand, you know, the need for planning ahead. Yes. And it was a nice Nick Beer quote. Was it forwards thinking, backwards planning? So I'm always thinking like way ahead. So definitely, you know, expanding the kit range for me. Like I've just launched the Sunrise collection, which is like part of the kit that I've got here today, and that's been received so well. And I feel like that's been a bit of a pivotal point for me, bringing that range out, because it really is the kit that I want to be making. And so more of more of developing the kit range. Got the hydration pack coming out as well. Building that community, more pop-up shops and getting out and speaking to people. But, you know, as I say, I'm very ambitious, and I think international expansion is where like I would want to see the business going in the future. There's huge trail running communities in America and Europe, and there's nothing like Trail Goddess out there just now. So yeah, the world's your oyster, really.
No, I love that. I know you've seen a gap. And as you said, you poured everything into it at the start. You know, it's not like you were kind of half in, half out. You were like, oh, I'm just going to try this. It's like you really put everything into it, and you can see with the way you talk about it, the way you talk about the future, that you do have big ambitions for it. And you know, I think you get out of something what you put into it.
Absolutely.
And you can see yourself putting so much into it that you are going to get so much out of it. And you know, I'm going to be a follower now, even though I can't wear any of the kit. You know, I will be.
You never know.
You never know.
I do get asked a lot about men's.
A trail god or something similar. But no, I think obviously what you're doing just now is amazing. You know, and as you said, going international. Is that where you see it then in the next 5 years' time? Being a UK household name. You know, not that you're not already, but being a UK household name and being international.
I think for me, Trail Goddess should be the home of women's trail running. You know, that's where I see it in the future. I'd love to be the leading brand for, you know, women's trail running internationally. I mean, that is the dream. That's where the aspirations lie. I've still got a long way to go. You know, it's very much still a start-up brand, but it's gaining real momentum, and you know, I'm super proud of that. And you know, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, don't forget us.
I will not.
What role will sustainability and innovation play as you grow?
Sustainability is a huge part of the trail running community. You know, we are out in nature, enjoying, you know, nature and the trails. So looking after the environment is really important to me. So a lot of the products that I am developing and have developed have been made from recycled fabrics. Obviously, think about buying in bulk wherever I can to reduce, you know, obviously the impact that it has from like air freight and things like that. So as the business grows, I'll start to incorporate more of that into my strategy and thinking about sustainability roadmap and things. But yeah, I mean, if we are able to go out and enjoy, you know, nature and enjoy the trails, then we really should look after it. So that does definitely play a huge part of in what I do, I guess.
And maybe one you need to think about, but what would be 3 things that anybody can do? And you know, you always see the government or you know, the TV kind of thing and throwing adverts, you know, turn your switches off at night. Little things like that. What's 3 things you could say that people could start doing that would really benefit that sustainability that you're speaking about?
I think everyone definitely has their own role to play in looking after the environment. You know, one thing we could all do is join community groups. and in terms of clean-ups and there's a lot of maintenance that goes on in the trails locally, and I'm sure that they would benefit from volunteers as well, so perhaps volunteer to help out a local community group. And certainly just being more mindful of like everyday wastage. For me, it's about using like recyclable packaging. Again, thinking about like the amount of air freight that I use as well. So trying to go like by ship. What do you call that? Not air, but like,
I know what you mean. Yeah, I get you. Like freight.
You definitely need to cut that out. Yeah. So just basically reducing, freight wherever possible. I don't travel much for business either, so at the moment, but certainly reducing the amount of travel that we all do it as well, I think would really be beneficial. So yeah, it's everyday things, isn't it? It can have the biggest impact.
Have you seen a big shift in terms of when you're running trails? A bit of a change at all? You talk about CO2 emissions, the kind of world heating up, it's always kind of peddled into the mainstream. Do you see a difference when you're out trail running from when you were doing it when you were, maybe 5-10 years ago? Trail running, I guess, has been a part of my life for 6 or 7 years, and you do see a big difference in terms of like the weather. Like definitely the weather is a lot more changeable. Now we live in Scotland, so it is changeable anyway. It's honking most of the time.
Like we do have quite harsh conditions, especially when you're up in the hills. But I would say like the seasons are definitely a bit more different, and we don't really have 4 seasons in Scotland, do we? So
No.
definitely like with the weather, you can see the difference there. And I think the trails themselves, you can definitely see a difference because I have photos of like some of the kind of bigger trails that most people will know about, so like the Joymuir Way, West Highland Way, and you do see the impact that like a lot of people using those trails has on the environment. The people don't stick to the path, they kind of go off trails, and you do see a big difference to the kind of wear and tear as well.
It must be hard to upkeep that, something so big, so vast. I've had the pleasure of doing the West Highland, obviously not running it, but
One day.
one day, you never know.
Yeah.
But doing it over we've done it over kind of 5-day period. We walked it, done it twice. It's beautiful. If anybody's not done the West Highland Way, I would strongly suggest doing it. It is one of those things. It's just you've got to go out and see it. It's just so amazing. The views, even if you can go with friends or as you said, a community.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. I can only imagine. How many times have you done it?
So I've ran the whole thing. I ran it into separate parts,
Okay.
but it's one of my favourite routes to run on.
Yep.
Most weekends, you'll catch me on Clonic Hill, or you'll catch me in one part of the West Highland Way or another. So it's one of my favourite places to run, definitely.
It's beautiful. You get to go out and see Scotland. In terms of Trail Goddess, if you could change one thing in the running world, what would it be?
I think it would go back to that, getting more women on the start line of trail races, increasing that from like 20 to 30%, and above. Like it'd be nice to see, 50-50. And you are seeing a lot of change in the trail running industry. There are charities now that are solely about getting more women into trail running, and having provisions at trail races as well that make it more accessible for women. So you are seeing changes, but I would like to be a part of that and play my part in encouraging more women into the start line, and obviously opening up that conversation about kit being made specifically for women and with women in mind.
Yeah, and as you spoke about, and you walking the walk, taking that leap fully into Trail Goddess, what advice would you give to women, or even someone who might have an idea but is scared to take that leap to starting their own brand or their own business, or creating their own platform?
I think if you want it badly enough, make it happen. Like you can do it. I don't think that I'm any different to anyone else. I just had a passion and I turned it into my business. And that's I think the one bit of advice I would give is do something you love. Like find something that you're truly passionate about. I mean, I live and breathe trail running. It's like my favourite thing in the world. My life is built around running, and that lifestyle as well. So, find something that you love and that you're truly passionate about, and turn that into your job, because, you will then never wake up thinking you're dreading going to work, or you hate your job, or, you're worried about redundancy or anything like that, because you're the one making it happen every day. So yeah, find something you're passionate about and just get out and do it.
No, I love that. And in terms of, I always like to finish off with Trail Goddess. What's one word you'd want people to associate with Trail Goddess, and what's the legacy that you want to leave behind?
I think inspiration is the one word. Inspire others, be inspired as well by other people. Surround yourself with people that inspire you and that make you want to go out and achieve great things. So yeah, I think inspired is definitely how I would want others to feel, being part of Trail Goddess and being, part of the community, but also for them to go out and inspire other people with the things that they do and go and achieve in their lives as well.
Yeah, I get that off you completely. I think you epitomise it perfectly there and round it up perfectly in terms of that being inspiring, sitting with you today and hearing you kind of talking through Trail Goddess as a whole. I feel very, in terms of inspired by yourself, and you feel that ambition. I can see it in you when you talk about it. It's not just like, as you said, you dread sometimes going to a 9-to-5 job, and that's not me saying 9-to-5 jobs aren't perfect or, they're not great. Some people might love a 9-to-5 and, go you. It's not for everybody, and that's that. As we said, it's okay not to stand out and do something different. It's all right. But as I said, keep being ambitious, keep being inspiring, because as I said, I can see that you're, just talking to you, that you're going to go far, and how much ambition you've got. It's really, really nice to see. And as I said, just honestly keep doing what you're doing, because that is amazing. But listen, thank you so much for coming in, chatting through Trail Goddess. I would do to see the lovely hats here, so for any females watching,
yes,
have a wee look, get it bought.
trailgoddess.co.uk.
Yeah, that's the one. Listen, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having
taking
me.
the time to talk to me.
Thank
you. Take care.